Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. What? 60,000 meters. Yunche gasped out of shock. 60,000 meters. Even if this was ground distance, it still would not be a small figure, and if this figure was used on height, terrifying could only be used to describe it. At the very least, in Yunche's 2 lifetimes, forget about 60,000 meters, he had never even made contact with 30,000 meters in the high skies. Yunche had never seen a profound arc that could reach such heights, and, at such a height, forget about sky profound, even Emperor profound experts would never be able to reach it. It was no wonder Kang Wanhe said that it was necessary to borrow the strength of an overlord to board the primordial profound arc. It was actually at such a terrifying height in the high skies. And with such height, the black shadows that could be seen from one's line of sight could still be said to be huge. Its actual size could thus be imagined. However, not many people from the crowd were stopping to raise their heads and view it. After all, this mysterious and unfathomable primordial profound arc had already appeared a few months ago. Jasmine, are you able to see just what this primordial profound arc really is? Yunche asked with his head raised. Since he was separated too far away from it, and there were even layers of clouds covering it, what he could see was simply that huge shadow and its rough outline. As for the details, he was unable to even see them the least bit clearly. That indeed should be a profound arc. I have seen many profound arcs of this size, however, the feeling this profound arc brings me is really strange. Jasmine said musingly. Strange? Although this was already the second time Jasmine had said such similar words, Yunche was still stunned in his heart. It was a profound arc that was huge to such an extent, yet she actually said she had seen them a few times. The tone she adopted even sounded as though she was used to such sights. The place she was born and had grown up in, just what kind of terrifying existence was it? Profound arcs had underwent changes in the course of 100 million years of history. Right now, they had long been becoming uniform and perfect constructs. For example, in order to reduce the consumption of profound stones, profound crystals, and even divine stones and divine crystals, the front part of the profound arcs are all sharp and long, the entire bodyline is especially smooth. This way, it can greatly reduce the amount of resistive forces during flight. However, this profound arc actually adopts the exact opposite of this concept, and looks more like a product in the ancient era. The strangest thing is, when such a huge profound arc floats in the high skies, a large amount of energy is consumed every second. However, I completely cannot sense any trace of energy flow up above. This should be something completely impossible. Yunche. If you're able to resolve the grudge between you and Divine Phoenix Sect, and succeed in entering the 7-nation ranking tournament, then enter the top 3. After that, board this primordial profound arc to take a look. All of a sudden, I really wish to know just what this thing really is. Jasmine said very seriously. Evidently, she had harbored a very deep interest towards this mysterious profound arc which she even could not understand. All right. Yunche nodded. Hopefully, when the time comes, everything will go according to plan. It seems like you have already prepared an adequate plan. Something like that. But things like plans will forever be merely plans. In regards to what will actually happen when the time comes, no one is able to predict it. Although Yunche put it this way, his expression was still very calm and composed. There's still another half a month before the ranking tournament. In this period of time, what are you planning to do? I will use 30% of the time to familiarize myself with Divine Phoenix City, so that when I have no choice but to flee, at the very least, I won't be a headless housefly. As for the remaining 70% of the time, naturally, it's used to raise my abilities. Yunche slightly raised his brows, and his eyes narrowed. In these recent months, I have been training in the Frozen End Divine Arts, yet the raising of my profound strength had completely fallen behind. The 7-nation ranking tournament is an event where all of the top greatest young experts in the entire profound sky continent gathers, and the Blue Wind ranking tournament is far from being able to compare to it. With my current strength, I still do not have that much confidence in reaching the top 3. In these few days, I have to use some special methods to raise my profound strength. Right now, I have the heart of an Emperor Profound Dragon, Palpus of an Emperor Profound Dragon, Devil's Flaming Blood Crystal, Kongtong Grass, Snowflower Jade Liquid in my hands. As long as I possess the Heavenly Brahma Jade and Phoenix Helianthus as well, I will be able to refine a Sky Profound Universal Pellet. After taking it, it will be enough to raise my profound strength to the 10th level of Earth Profound Realm. Although the Heavenly Brahma Jade and Phoenix Helianthus cannot be found in the Blue Wind Empire, there's the Black Moon Merchant Guild's headquarters in Divine Phoenix City. As long as I have the money, there shouldn't be anything I'm unable to afford. After saying that, Yunche took out the map of Divine Phoenix City, and his eyes quickly locked onto that especially eye-catching black-colored crescent moon on the map. Then, he sprinted straight there. The Black Moon Merchant Guild was spread throughout every corner of Profound Sky Continent, and its position as the Lord of the Merchant World had never been shaken by anyone. As the headquarters of Black Moon Merchant Guild, undoubtedly, it would have an extremely grand atmosphere. And, when Yunche finally arrived at the entrance of Black Moon Merchant Guild, he was still shocked dumbfounded. The size of the Black Moon Merchant Guild was more than several tens of kilometers, and could be comparable to a small town. Anyone would find it hard to believe that it was actually just a Merchant Guild station. The Black Moon Merchant Guild had a total of 8 floors. Although there were only 8 floors, the height of every floor was incomparably shocking. Adding the 8 floors together, the building actually shot through the blue skies. At the very top, a gigantic black-colored crescent moon exalted itself among the clouds. Seemingly, at any corner of this humongous Divine Phoenix City, it was clearly visible if one were to raise his head to take a look. The walls were all reflecting a pure glow that could only be possible with pure stones of jade. Every piece of brick was extremely precious, and it was totally more luxurious than the glazed brick used in the Blue Wind Imperial Palace. An extremely grand and majestic aura enveloped downward, causing people to seemingly have the impulse to worship it when they look at it. Truly extremely wealthy. Looking at the Black Moon Merchant Guild in front of him, Yunche sighed out fiercely in his heart. All of a sudden, he really wanted to know what kind of figure was the guildmaster of this Black Moon Merchant Guild. To possess such an astonishing business empire in the palm of a single person's hands, it was definitely not something that could be done with mere money. Currently, revealing in front of Yunche's eyes, was an extremely huge plaza. The plaza was filled with a huge crowd, and the place concentrated with the most people was a gigantic crystal stone stage. The crystal stone stage was separated into several crystal pillars, and at the front of every crystal was a vertical profound array that was slowly swirling around. These profound arrays were distributed uniformly around the crystal stone stage, and every profound array was glowing with a mysterious and unfathomable rainbow-colored light. By taking a closer look, they were reflecting between the colors of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet alternatively at an uniform pace. This is the Black Moon Merchant Guild? Isn't it too exaggerated? Beside Yunche, a youth stared dumbfoundedly in front of him. His mouth was widened to the max, and he was unable to close it for a long time. Looking at his attire, he should be a practitioner from another nation who had came over to Divine Phoenix City for the first time. This is just the exterior. According to rumors, it's even more exaggerated inside. His companion said. Why are all these people surrounding the crystal stage, and why aren't they entering? Oh right, why haven't I seen the door? Where are we supposed to enter the place? How could the headquarters of Black Moon Merchant Guild be so easily accessible? Even me, your senior brother, did not have the qualification to enter when I came back then. It's fine to just look around, and it's best that you don't wish of entering the place. If you need anything, it's best if you just head over to the branches, or other small merchant guilds. Also, even if you're able to enter the place, the items from the Black Moon Merchant Guild aren't things you can afford. Why can't we enter the place? Could it be that they will even chase away their customers? And what kind of people are able to enter the place? See that crystal stage? There are 36 profound arrays at the exterior of the crystal stage, and they are also the only entrances to the Black Moon Merchant Guild. If you wish to enter, you have to use your own strength to attack the profound arrays. These profound arrays will completely take in the energy that was struck onto them, Then, according to the level of strength, it would judge the grade of the attack. Then, it will have the grade displayed at the corresponding crystal pillar behind the profound arrays. And the grade displayed have to be at least green-colored, before one has the qualification to enter the Black Moon Merchant Guild. However, that person will only be able to enter the first and second floors. With a blue-colored grade, the person will be able to enter the third and fourth level. An indigo-colored grade allows the person to enter the fifth and sixth levels. As for the highest purple-colored grade, that person can enter the seventh level. Yunche heard all of these words, and he once again sighed in his heart. In the merchant world, it had always been the buyers picking their sellers, and the merchant guilds would always play all their tricks to pull in customers. The Black Moon Merchant Guild, however, wanted to precisely pick out their customers. Without sufficient strength, one would not even have the qualification to enter the Black Moon headquarters. Even if you possess great wealth, don't expect to enter the Black Moon Merchant Guild to make a trade. Even if that was the case, not only wouldn't the number of customers in Black Moon Merchant Guild drop to zero, instead, every year, there would always be countless of people thinking of ways to enter the place. To have such strength and confidence in the entire profound sky continent, Black Moon Merchant Guild was the only one. Then that's really too unfair. That young profound practitioner said furiously. To merely judge a person's qualification to enter with profound strength, wouldn't us youths lose out too much? This is clearly leaning towards those people who have trained in the profound for hundreds of years. No, you're mistaken. The one who was called senior brother shook his head. What the crystal pillar base its standards of qualification on is not just merely profound strength, but potential. When one attacks the profound array, not only will it take in energy, it will also measure the age of the bones of the attacker at the same time, and then it will judge based on the combination of the bone's age and degree of profound strength. For example, with your profound energy, if you're only 10 years old, you will definitely have the qualification to enter. And if the person is a supreme throne, but the age of his bones is several hundred years old, he might not even be labeled as green-colored grade. I see, senior brother, earlier, you said that the highest purple-colored grade can only enter the 7th floor. Then, how does one enter the 8th floor? According to rumors, the 8th floor is the place where the Black Moon Merchant Guild personally received their esteemed guests, and only people with extremely grand and respected statuses, like the Phoenix Sect Master. Ultra-classed individuals like him have the qualification to enter. I'm afraid that even a regular Divine Phoenix Prince does not even have the qualification enter either, so it's best that we don't think about it for the rest of our lives. The conversations from the people beside him had allowed Yunche to finally understand how he could enter the Black Moon Merchant Guild. He retracted his gaze from the black-colored crescent moon above the high clouds, and walked towards the crystal stage in the middle. The crowd around the stage was very densely packed. In these recent days, Divine Phoenix City was being poured with a large number of profound practitioners from the 6 nations, and as people who were capable of arriving here, not a single one of them was not either an outstanding individual or an absolute genius among their own nation of profound practitioners. In regards to the Black Moon headquarters, they naturally had an extremely huge desire to press upwards. To gain access into the Black Moon headquarters to take a look, was even one of the biggest reasons why many people had come. All 36 profound arrays at the front were occupied by people, and every one of them had entirely reddened faces as they gathered all of their profound energy in their bodies to attack the profound arrays. But when every single gigantic force of energy made contact with the profound array, none of them were able to create any form of destruction, and even the sound of impact was very light, as the energy was taken in completely and cleanly in an instant. Although there were 20 to 30 people attacking at the same time at every single time, the surge of profound energy that was too intense could not be felt in the surroundings. Ha! A 20-odd-year-old young practitioner had a stern expression. With his cheeks swelled up, after gathering profound energy for more than nearly 10 seconds, he shouted out loudly, and attacked towards the profound array at the front with his strongest profound skill. When attacking the profound array, one could not use his or her weapon, however, the person could use his profound arts and skills. Heaven-earth collapsing lightning fist. The young profound practitioner's fist ruthlessly struck onto the profound array. The profound array momentarily swept out a wave-like ripple soundlessly. Following after, the corresponding crystal momentarily glowed. The first level's red color lighted up and continued to head upwards, lighting up the orange color at the second level. The third level's yellow color glowed right after as well. However, before it shone with its brightest light, it had already been fixed. Following after, all of the colors quickly faded to darkness. That expression of the young practitioner, who initially had been filled with confidence, instantly froze. His pair of hands trembled, and he shouted out uncontrollably. No? Impossible. Impossible. I'm ranked 37 in Black Fiend Nation's ranking tournament, the #1 genius of the River North generation. Impossible, there must have been a mistake somewhere. As one of the absolute geniuses in a nation, he grew up as a prideful and arrogant individual who had always been worshipped, praised, envied and flattered his entire life. Yet when he reached the Black Moon headquarters, he actually did not even reach the most basic qualification of entering the place. To an ultra-class genius who could shake a nation with his might, this was undoubtedly an incomparably large blow to his ego. Amidst his loss of control, his face turned as red as blood. Suddenly, he roared out loudly, took out his weapon in an instant, and smashed towards the profound array in front as he roared wildly. However, the moment the weapon made contact with the profound array suddenly flashed with a cold light, and a huge force of energy was released. The young profound practitioner screamed, and was sent flying far away. When he landed on the ground, he was unable to stand up even after a long while. Senior Brother Yin. A few of the companions who came along with him hurriedly circled around him and lifted him up. Ha 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 ha. A bunch of trash from a lowly and small nation actually dreams of entering the Black Moon headquarters as well, and even claims himself to be the #1 genius of whatever River North generation. Ha 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 ha. My teeth are really falling off from laughing here. You so-called geniuses of your small nations, in my divine Phoenix Empire, are not even fit to be ants. I even feel embarrassed for all of you. An incomparably arrogant voice rang out from the back of the crowd. Every word of his speech was incomparably ear-piercing, as he insulted all of the profound practitioners of the 6 nations. The people concentrated at this place were mostly from the 6 nations, and when they heard this voice, there wasn't a single one of them who did not turn to look out of anger. However, when they saw the person who said these words, their anger which was about to burst out was instantly tightly blocked off by something, as they stood there stunned, not daring to shout out even the least bit of their voice. This person was donned in a set of flame-like red clothes, and an emblem of a phoenix with its wings spread out was embroidered on his chest. No matter the set of red clothes or the emblem, both of them had proven this person's identity. Impressively, he was a disciple of the Divine Phoenix sect. The red-clothed man split the crowd apart and walked over. His steps were slow and leisurely, and his posture was filled with pride. A faint smile which contained a hint of disdain and ridicule hung on the corner of his lips, as though he was an emperor overlooking the many lives below him. His front chest slightly straightened, and that phoenix emblem glistened brilliantly, announcing his identity to everyone. As practitioners who were able to make a long trip from the 6 nations to spectate the match, which one of them wouldn't be high-leveled individuals with huge pride and arrogance. However, facing this disciple of the Divine Phoenix sect, what they felt was actually an incomparably huge sense of pressure. Although the 6 nations and the Divine Phoenix Empire were referred to as the 7 nations, even if the 6 nations combined their forces, it would still be impossible for them to shake the Divine Phoenix Empire the least bit. Every year, they had to give a huge amount of tributes to the Divine Phoenix Empire, and they never dared to stop doing so. To make it sound uglier, when the 6 nations were in front of the Divine Phoenix Empire, they would be similar to affiliated states. In front of the overwhelming power of the Divine Phoenix Empire, no matter if they were individuals with great strength and authority in the political or profound realm, when they were in the Divine Phoenix Empire, they would all have to clench their buttocks and act courteously. And the Divine Phoenix sect was the absolute overlord of the entire Divine Phoenix Empire. In the eyes of the continent's profound practitioners, the Divine Phoenix sect was more similar to a group which consisted of people that came from another plane and world. Moreover, this was even the Divine Phoenix sect's territory. Hence, when they faced the incomparably presumptuous and ear-piercing mockery from this Divine Phoenix sect disciple, these young practitioners who held a bundle of pride and arrogance in their own nations, dared to be furious. However, they did not dare to speak them out loud. In the eyes they were using to look towards the Phoenix disciple was 30% anger and 70% fear. These types of gazes, and the feeling of a tiger herding sheep, made the Phoenix disciple feel even more prideful and complacent. His voice also became even more ear-piercing. "You little ones from these 6 nations, it's best that you scram from here as soon as possible. The Black Moon headquarters isn't a place worthy for you low-class people to enter. By piling yourselves here, you're only going to dirty the ground here, and taint the air here." Yun Che's brows furrowed fiercely. He had seen many arrogant people, however, it was still the first time he had seen someone who would unhesitantly humiliate the ones present here, and all of the profound practitioners of the 6 nations, with such an arrogant tone. He really wondered if this Phoenix disciple was initially an arrogant prick himself, or if all of the Phoenix disciples would all act the same way in front of profound practitioners of other nations. When these words of his fell, the profound practitioners of the 6 nations present undoubtedly became even more furious, and in the end, the young profound practitioner who did not even look to be 20 years old, could no longer control himself as he said furiously, "You! What are you being so arrogant for? Disciples of every sect have their own distinctions of the strong and the weak. Even if it's the Divine Phoenix sect, there's no exception. Who knows what kind of status you actually have? Who doesn't know how to talk big? If you have the capabilities, then open the profound array and prove it to us." The moment his words fell, an astonished voice suddenly came from the back of the crowd. "I recall now. He's Feng Jiaonan, the head disciple under the 39th elder of Divine Phoenix sect. I have once seen his name on the list of top 100 in the Divine Phoenix ranking tournament 2 years ago." When this piece of news came, the crowd instantly burst into an uproar. The eyes they were using to look towards the Phoenix disciple instantly underwent a grave change, as they became even more frightened. And as for that young profound practitioner who spoke up earlier, his expression instantly turned terribly pale. Not only was he a disciple of the Divine Phoenix sect, he was even the head disciple of an elder class figure. In the Divine Phoenix Nations ranking tournament, he was positioned in the top 100. Feng Jiaonan burst out into wild laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. I never expected that among you profound practitioners from these small nations, there's actually someone who knows of my great name, Feng Jiaonan, as well. Heh, don't you guys want to see if I'm capable of breaking open this Black Moon headquarters profound array? Then I shall have all of you open your eyes, and carefully look at the difference between the disciples of my Divine Phoenix sect and the trash of your small nations. Move away." Feng Jiaonan took 3 steps forward, and stood in front of a profound array. Putting out a posture very casually, he said lazily, "All of you had best open your eyes wide and look carefully now." When his words fell, Phoenix flames speedily burnt on the top of his palm, and then, it fiercely collided towards the profound array in front. Instantly, all of the Phoenix profound energy was completely taken in by the profound array. Almost in an instant, the red, orange and yellow colors on the crystal pillar lighted together. The blinding light continued to rise, and it hurriedly lighted up the green color. Yet, it still did not stop, and instead, continued to rise at a decreasing rate. In the end, the blue-colored glow was barely lighted up as well, and only after maintaining for about 3 seconds, did all of the glows fade away. The profound array spun at high speed, and then, the shape of a transfer gate slowly formed. The color of the door was blue, and Feng Jiaonan's body was being enveloped by a layer of blue glow as well, which meant that this blue-colored transfer gate could only be entered by Feng Jiaonan. Green represented the right to enter the Black Moon headquarters, and this color also meant that the people of this color would all be absolute geniuses in the eyes of the Black Moon Merchant Guild. Not only did Feng Jiaonan have the qualification to enter the Black Moon headquarters, he was blue, a level higher than green. This judgment represented that in the standards judged by the Black Moon Merchant Guild, he was a genius among geniuses. All of the profound practitioners from the 6 nations were dumbfounded, and every single of their faces were turning red. Feng Jiaonan retracted his hand, and a hint of complacency flashed past his eyes. However, his demeanor was as casual as before, and he then said very casually, "MN, it was just a casual blow, but it's still acceptable. You trash from the small nations, do you know what this blue color means? TSK, let's forget about it. Because, let alone the third and fourth levels of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, all of you are only able to wish to enter the most basic first and second levels in your entire lifetimes. You all had best hurry and scram. Stop blocking this place and prevent anyone from walking over. You're all really shameless. After saying that, with extremely belittling eyes, he swept a glance at the furious profound practitioners of the Six Nations, laughed out wildly, and walked to the transfer gate at the front. Just when his front foot was about to step into it, from behind him, an extremely disdainful voice sounded from the crowd behind. And here I was thinking just how capable a head disciple of a Divine Phoenix sect elder was. It seems it's not really much either. But your arrogance has surpassed your strength by countless times. When these words came, the entire crowd was instantly in an uproar, as they looked towards the one who spoke up, one after another. Feng Xiaonan's steps stopped, and his entire body slowly turned back. His gaze landed on Yun Che, and after casually inspecting his profound strength, his face revealed an extremely disdainful expression. The person who spoke earlier, was it you? The person who spoke earlier was indeed Yun Che. Yun Che was not someone who was willing to cause much troubles for himself, but, more so than that, he was not someone who was willing to be ridiculed in silence. Feng Xiaonan's earlier mockery was towards all of the profound practitioners of the Six Nations, and that naturally included him. But this was still secondary. What Yun Che was definitely unable to bear was when there was someone more arrogant than himself, standing right in front of him. Like Feng Xiaonan. Feng Xiaonan's imposing aura was naturally astonishing. However, how could Yun Che be affected by his imposing aura? He coldly laughed, and said, "That's right, it was me." Ha 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 ha. Feng Xiaonan laughed out wildly, as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. And here I thought which big figure it was, so it's just trash from a small nation. Oh, no, it's something that can't be even fit to be called trash. This level of profound strength is but a pitiful earth-profound realm. In my eyes, it's just trash, yet you dare to talk arrogantly in front of me. Your guts really aren't small. He narrowed his eyes, and stretched out a finger with a smile. Do you believe that if I want to kill you, I simply require a single finger? But, what a pity, this place is the territory of Black Moon headquarters, and private battles are not allowed. After all, I have to give the Black Moon headquarters face, otherwise, just by those ridiculous words you said to me earlier, you would have already been a corpse by now. After dying in my hands, even if you're a royal prince from some nation, or even the crown prince, I will still guarantee that your emperor will obediently dispatch men to collect your corpse. Other than that, he wouldn't even dare to give another damn. Among the young profound practitioners present, those who had higher profound strength than Yun Che could be found anywhere. When Yun Che called out, they were initially pleasantly surprised, as they thought that someone who could put down this Phoenix disciple's prestige had appeared. However, when they found out that Yun Che's profound strength was merely at the earth-profound realm, all of them were extremely disappointed, and there were even someone who questioned if he was insane. With strength merely at the earth-profound realm, he actually dared to challenge a top-class disciple of the Divine Phoenix sect. However, if you were to kneel and give me 3 sounding kowtows now, then call me your grandfather 3 times, I can still consider sparing your life, and allow you to leave Divine Phoenix City safe and sound. After all, as my own grandson, how could I, your grandfather, bear to lay my hands on you? Ha 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 ha. Feng Jiaonan belittling and arrogantly said. All of the surrounding profound practitioners looked at Yun Che with pitiful faces. Even though he did not possess the strength to back himself, he still came out to act tough. How could the Divine Phoenix sect's iron plate be so easily kicked? They could already predict the tragic end of this person. Kowtow. The corner of Yun Che's lips slightly tilted, his expression did not carry the slightest of fear, instead, he lightly smiled. It seems to be a pretty good idea. Then, Feng Jiaonan, why don't we make a bet? I hold a very big interest towards this Black Moon headquarters, and my purpose here today is to enter and take a look. If I don't have the capabilities to enter the 3rd and 4th floor like you, forget about kowtows, you can do whatever you want with this life of mine. If I'm able to have this crystal pillar's light shine above the blue color hair, Then you shall obediently kneel in front of me, give me 3 sounding kowtows, and call me your grandfather 3 times. This bet, do you dare accept it?" When Yunche's words came out, everyone gasped out in shock. The profound practitioner from Black Fiend Empire that was deflected away by the profound array earlier, loudly reminded. "Are you crazy? Hurry and take back the words you said earlier. Forget about blue, getting the green color to light up is even harder than stepping onto the heavens. I'm at the early stages of the sky profound realm, a mere earth profound realm like you, you're basically humiliating yourself. Forget it, senior brother Yin. Don't bother him, he should be a lunatic," his sect companions hurriedly said, as they feared that he would be targeted by Feng Jiaonan out of anger. "You? Make a bet with me? Higher than blue?" The corner of Feng Jiaonan's eyes twitched, his face spasmed. Then, he laughed out wildly, his body rocked back and forth, and he could barely catch his breath. "Ha ha. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. This is basically the best joke I have ever heard in my entire lifetime. An Earth profound realm trash actually has pipe dream of hitting above blue. And even wish to make a bet with me. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha." The eyes the surrounding profound practitioners were directing at Yunche had already changed to as though they were looking at a pure idiot. Yunche coldly looked at Feng Xiaonan's wild laughter. When he finally managed to stop laughing, Yunche lightly said, "Do you dare or not? If you don't dare, then good, I'll let you off. My time is extremely precious and I don't wish to waste it excessively on an arrogant trash." Feng Xiaonan's wild laughter stopped, his expression instantly darkened. "You're saying I don't dare? Heh. Even till the end, you're an idiotic trash who doesn't know the difference between heaven and earth. With you alone, you're not qualified to make a bet with me. But my mood today suddenly became really good, so I shall play with you. If you're able to strike higher than blue, forget about 3 sounding kowtows, and calling you grandfather 3 times, it's not even a problem for me to give you 10,000 kowtows and call you grandfather 10,000 times at all. Come, come. Hurry and strike it, show me. Allow me to properly witness how you're going to strike it above blue. Ha 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 ha. Very good." Yunche nodded. He suddenly raised his head and looked towards the far top in at the front. "Since this bet has already been made, and it's even made on the territory of this Black Moon headquarters, then, why don't we have that senior on the 7th floor, who has been looking here all this while, bear witness to this?" At the 7th floor of Black Moon Merchant Guild, an elderly dressed entirely in purple was standing by the window. Standing stationary like a statue, he had been silently watching the plaza below for a very long time. When Yunche's voice came sounding from afar, the elderly's entire body shook for a moment, and his face revealed an astonished expression. He carefully looked at Yunche's gaze, and realized he was actually looking straight at his own position. There was not even a single difference in angle. He's actually able to discover me? Astonishment and disbelief filled the purple-clothed elder's heart. The 7th floor of Black Moon Merchant Guild was more than 1,500 meters away from ground floor, and the horizontal distance from the crystal stage of the plaza to the Black Moon main hall was several hundreds of meters away as well. At the same time, the Black Moon Merchant Guild's viewing window was sealed by an incomparably precious unique material which could allow one to view the outside clearly, but prevent one to see inside even the slightest bit from the outside. Adding that the purple-clothed elderly's profound strength was incomparably powerful, even if a throne was merely a few hundred meters away from him, it would be difficult to discover his aura. But this Yunche, whose profound aura was clearly merely at the earth profound realm, was actually able to discover my presence. And he even knew that I had been looking at them all this while. In actuality, the one who found out that the purple-clothed elder had been looking at them from the 7th floor all this while, naturally, couldn't possibly be Yunche. Instead, it was Jasmine. The purple-clothed elder stood in place without moving, and did not say anything either, because he wasn't sure if Yunche was merely probing about to make it deliberately mystifying or had actually discovered him. If it was the latter, then that would be inconceivable. At this moment, Yunche actually spoke once more. If Senior isn't going to reply, then I'm going to count that as silent approval. For the Black Moon headquarters to be so successful even now, honesty is inevitably the number one criteria. I believe that Senior would not allow a lowly person who would go back on his word to appear in his domain. Feng Jiaonan laughed loudly. Seventh floor, Senior? Ha 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 ha. With such a far distance, and it even being the interior of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, let alone a trash like you, even I should not think about probing for any movements inside there. You putting on such an act like that seriously resembles an extremely ridiculous clown. Yunche laughed coldly. Without saying another word, he walked toward the front of a profound array in the eyes of everyone present. He had already roughly understood that this crystal station's standard for talent, the age of one's bones, and degree of power, not simply the level of one's profound strength. If it was in accordance to this standard, then no matter what, he ought to be stronger than this Feng Jiaonan. Yunche extended both hands and gathered his energy. Purgatory instantly opened as his hand smashed out with falling moon sinking star. Divine Phoenix Empire had more than 5,000 years of history, and the existence of this crystal stage was even older than the Divine Phoenix Empire, which was highly unusual. The might of Yunche's strike under the state of purgatory was absolutely terrible beyond compare, but once it struck atop the profound array, it also did not make any noise as all its force was completely absorbed by the profound array in an instant without the slightest bit of overflow. Clang clang clang. The silent crystal pillar suddenly lit up. From red, it almost instantly went straight to blue. The sound of 5 different colors simultaneous lighting up overlapped, directly shocking the ears of everyone present with a continuous droning noise. All of the surrounding profound practitioners had a pitiful expression, and were already prepared to see a joke, but the scene before their eyes immediately left them completely dumbstruck, leaving them unable to dare believe their own eyes. The sneer on Feng Jiaonan's face stiffened instantly, as he involuntarily cried out. This is impossible. The ascension of the light on the crystal pillar slowed down, but it still did not stop as it continued upward through the blue pillar and broke through the blue-colored boundary as the indigo crystal pillar then lit up. Whoa! Almost all the profound practitioners present let out an involuntary cry. However, the crystal pillar's light still did not cease, and instead continued to rise higher and higher. The indigo light quickly became an azure color. Then, there was only a clang sound. A purple radiance was released from the highest pillar of light. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. All colors lit up, and the entire crystal pillar brightened with the color of the rainbow. Slowly, the violet color spread downwards, gradually engulfing the other colors, making the entire crystal pillar purple. The purple color was preserved for a full 10 breaths of time, then slowly scattered. The profound array in front of Yunche spun at high speed, and then, the shape of a purple-colored transfer gate slowly formed. Yunche's body was also radiating a faint purple color. On the 7th floor of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, the face of the purple-cloaked elder, who had been standing by the window from the start, fiercely moved. His gaze firmly locked on Yunche, and it took a good while until he slowly spoke out a few words. Earth Profound Realm. Inconceivable. This grade was also beyond Yunche's expectations. In fact, the crystal stage standard judgment of talent did not merely use a person's age and strength, at the same time, it also compared the power released at those at the same level as well. Yunche's profound strength was at the late stages of the Earth Profound Realm, yet he could release a strength comparable to a middle-stage Emperor Profound. This was his current strongest, and it could be said that in the entire Profound Sky continent, none could reach him. The surrounding profound practitioners were all stupefied on the spot. A profound practitioner that placed in the top 50th of Black Fiend Nation's ranking tournament could only strike out the yellow. Feng Jiaonan was the head disciple of an elder rank person within the Divine Phoenix sect, and his blue grade was one that they could never hope to reach for even in their entire lifetimes. Yet this person, who was obviously at the Earth Profound Realm, actually struck out the illusory, unreal violet. This meant that based on the Black Moon Merchant Guild's judgment, his aptitude was at the very top of the entire Profound Sky continent. Although there was the level of indigo between violet and blue, this did not represent the disparity in the two levels, rather, the difference was 2 full planes, 2 whole worlds. In front of a yellow-colored grade, a blue-colored grade was a transcendent existence that one could not see the summit of. But in front of a purple-colored grade, it was trash, through and through. Impossible. Impossible. There must be a problem with the profound array. Impossible. Staring at the purple-colored radiance that had yet to disperse, Feng Xiaonan's entire body shook. Born in Divine Phoenix City, he was even more clear than everyone present on what the purple-colored grade meant. Because within this generation of Divine Phoenix Sect's profound practitioners, only one person had struck out a purple-colored grade. Even indigo was a rarity. No matter what, he was unable to accept that a mere earth profound realm from one of the other 6 nations, someone who was fundamentally not even worthy to be glanced at in his eyes, had actually struck out the violet of legends. Even though he had lowly muttered out that there must be a problem with the profound array, he was even more clear than everyone present that it was absolutely impossible for there to be a problem with the profound array. It was rumored that these 32 profound arrays were made by a monarch of the sovereign profound realm, and it existed even longer than the Divine Phoenix Empire. How could a problem possible appear on it? Yunche turned around, faced Feng Jiaonan, and laughed faintly. Feng Jiaonan, the results are now in. You ought to not have forgotten the bet we made previously, right? Then what are you standing there for? Why haven't you kneeled down and kowtowed to your grandfather? You? Feng Xiaonan's complexion became pitch black. Before now, even if he was beaten to death, he would never believe that a mere, insignificant earth-profound realm would strike out a level higher than blue, or even the legendary violet. Let alone a high-ranking disciple of the Divine Phoenix Sect. Even if it were an ordinary person, it was impossible for one to accept the humiliation of going down on his knees to kowtow, and even calling out grandfather. Otherwise, he would always bear this humiliating mark for his entire life. You're only a trash of only the earth-profound realm, how could you strike out the violet? Feng Jiaonan said with gritted teeth, there obviously is a problem with the profound array, or maybe you had used some sort of trick. To want me, Feng Jiaonan of the Divine Phoenix Sect, to kneel for you, is simply a joke as big as the heavens. Ha ha. Yunche sneered. Divine Phoenix Sect is known as the #1 sect in the world, its might and power is known to be impressive everywhere, and would make people wistful. Never did I expect that not only is this disciple condescending beyond belief and arrogant without scruples, he's actually a lowly person who would go back on his word. That seriously leaves one greatly disappointed. However, you can't renege on your bet, as every friend present here are all personal witnesses. If you really do not care about your pathetic face, you can just leave far away with your tail behind your legs. But I don't know what would happen if this news were to spread throughout the city and pass through your sect's ears, letting them know that you had lost all of your sect's face in front of the presence of all the other 6 nations' profound practitioners in Black Moon Merchant Guild's territory. I wonder if they would expel you from Divine Phoenix Sect. Oh, no, Divine Phoenix Sect's biggest taboo is their bloodline, so they would never drive away a disciple. I guess they would directly do some house cleaning. When Feng Jiaonan had come earlier, the surrounding reverent gazes had made his entire body feel incredibly pleasurable. But now, the surrounding gazes were like daggers boring into his entire body. If he was alone with Yunche, he would unhesitantly kill Yunche, letting not a third person know of this. However, not only was this the territory of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, there were also more than 10,000 people here as witnesses. This was the first time in his life that he had been forced in such dire straits. In this one generation of my grand and mighty Divine Phoenix Sect, only one person has struck the violet. How could a trash of the earth-profound realm like you be able to strike the violet? There's obviously a problem with the profound array. What qualifications do you have to make me kneel? Nobody would ever acknowledge this result. You're actually even using the name of my sect to scare me? Ha ha, ha ha, simply ridiculous. Feng Jiaonan laughed loudly as he roared, but it was obvious that he was not confident in his last few words. At this time, an aged voice suddenly came from above. Little junior of Divine Phoenix Sect, your arrogance had first brought you trouble, yet you are not willing to admit that you lost your bet and is instead questioning my Black Moon's profound array. I'm afraid that if it was your master, Feng Yunji himself, not even he would have that sort of courage. This sound was not at all resounding, but every word felt as if mountains were firmly striking at the soul. The level of cultivation that belonged to the owner of the voice was simply unimaginable. Feng Jiaonan raised his head toward the 7th floor of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, his face revealing a deep shock and fear. He said hurriedly, It's Senior Z. Senior Z, please calm your anger. This junior absolutely does not have the intention of questioning the Black Moon Merchant Guild. No? Then is it that there was a problem with my hearing? The aged voice asked loudly. Feng Jiaonan's face immediately became ashen, and he didn't dare to speak for a long while. A high-ranking disciple from the Divine Phoenix sect had actually been scared to this extent by the owner of this aged voice. Yunche was slightly shocked in his heart. He raised his head and spoke. Junior thanked Senior for his fair words. Honesty is the #1 principle of my Black Moon Merchant Guild, and we can't bear to look at despicable people who go back on their word. However, this junior is after all, Divine Phoenix sect disciple. If he goes down and kowtows, it would be of the utmost humiliation, which would be extremely inappropriate for the entire Divine Phoenix sect. To you, it also brings not the least bit of benefit, so you ought to stand back in due course. Senior's teaching is right. Yunche said cheerfully. Junior only could not take his gaze that looked down and insulted all of us Six Nation profound practitioners, which is why I wanted him to remember this a bit more. His expression became unsightly as he turned to face Feng Jiaonan and said with a beaming smile, This Black Moon Merchant Guild Senior has already pleaded for mercy in your stead, so of course I'll have to honor this senior's reputation. This head of yours no longer needs to knock on the floor. Grandfather, you also do not need to call. But if you just leave like that, then wasn't this bet made for naught? We, profound practitioners of the other 6 nations, would also have been scolded by you free of charge. Thus, you had best leave behind a little something. Amen. Yunche supported his chin with a hand as his eyes narrowed into slits while he sized up Feng Jiaonan's entire body. The clothes you're wearing is actually not bad, take it off and give it to me. Senior, this junior's request is not too excessive, right? The aged voice transmitted over. The Phoenix robe is a Divine Phoenix sect disciple's identity. No one outside of the sect would dare copy it, and even more would not dare to wear it. Even though I don't know what you would use the Phoenix robe for, compared with your bet, this is merciful enough. Little junior of Divine Phoenix sect, the other party has already given you a huge concession. Do you have any other objections? The Phoenix robe was a Divine Phoenix sect disciple's status symbol. Taking it off was undoubtedly comparable to tearing one's face off. However, this outcome was unquestionably 1,100 times better than kowtowing. Added with the suppressive might coming from the Black Moon Merchant Guild, how could he even say anything else? Gritting his teeth, he took off the Phoenix robe, flung it at Yunche, then quickly changed into another outer clothing. After eyeing Yunche with a malicious gaze, he left without ever looking back. You deeming a person weaker than you as trash means that you would admit defeat in the face of someone stronger. This also means that you are trash, through and through. It was not easy for the Divine Phoenix sect to use 5,000 years to develop to its state today. Even if you do not have the ability to increase your sect's reputation, you should never think of making a disgrace out of yourself by using your status as a Divine Phoenix sect disciple, making others hold you in contempt. Yunche coldly stated toward Feng Jiaonan's direction. Then, without caring about Feng Jiaonan's reaction, he turned around and walked over to that profound array he had struck earlier. At the moment, the surrounding profound practitioners were looking at Yunche with gazes filled with deep reverence. None were underestimating him for having the profound strength of an earth-profound realm anymore. At the same time, they were deeply thankful. After all, he had helped every of the 6 nations' profound practitioners let off some steam in front of that Divine Phoenix sect disciple. It was just that the imposing manner he used to deal with Feng Jiaonan and also the violet that was struck on the crystal stage, made them lose the courage to approach him in the middle of their reverence and gratitude. As Yunche walked toward the profound array, the surrounding profound practitioners quickly stepped aside. Their gazes continuously followed him as they watched him walk into the purple-colored profound array, and completely disappear within. The purple-colored profound array sent Yunche to the 7th floor of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, a place that not many of the entire profound sky continent had set foot in. Upon entering the 7th floor of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, before he had even seen it clearly, a current of extremely refreshing air assaulted his senses. Right? It was actually clean, refreshing air. For an enormous merchant guild, the strongest aroma it ought to have would be a simple and dignified odor, but Yun-Che actually felt as if he had suddenly been placed within a completely clean and pure natural environment without the least bit of feeling like he was within a merchant guild. He opened his eyes and looked toward the front. Astonishingly, a garden as far as he could see appeared before his eyes. Various kinds of brightly colored rare and unusual botany sprinkled within the emerald green as a great tree towered above. The running stream crisscrossed in between, bringing along the unceasing murmurs of running water. A dazzled thought instantly emerged within Yun-Che's consciousness. Was this something built inside Black Moon's 7th floor? This was obviously an otherworldly utopia from the fairy realm. Up ahead, 3 beautiful and graceful young maidens who wore different colored garments walked toward Yun-Che. None of their looks were not 1 in 10,000, and their bearing was even more luxuriously poised. Their profound strength aura was strong to utmost the sky profound. The 3 young women came to Yun-Che's front and saluted gracefully. "Esteemed customer, welcome to Black Moon Merchant Guild. If there is anything you need, please do not hesitate to tell us." The treatment within Black Moon's 7th floor was sure enough extraordinary. With these 3 young women's shocking strength, any one of them would be a regional lord within the Blue Wind Nation, yet here, they were unexpectedly mere maids that waited upon customers. Yun-Che quickly swept a glance around, yet did not see any place that was selling an item. Even the smallest trace of what a merchant guild ought to have was indiscernible. He thought for a moment, then said, "3 fairies, may I ask where the senior I was talking to earlier is currently?" "Ha ha." A gentle chuckle came from an unknown place. "Bring him here." "Yes? Esteemed customer, please come this way." The 3 young women agreed crisply. With one at the front, left, and right, they respectfully led Yun-Che forward. After passing through the garden, through the flower beds, through a little group of hills and a little waterfall, a simple yet extraordinarily styled courtyard appeared in his line of sight. In the center of the courtyard was a pavilion, and in front of the pavilion stood a medium-statured old man dressed entirely in purple who was currently sizing up Yun-Che with a smile. Yun-Che took a step forward and said politely, "Junior Ling Yun greets Senior." Yun-Che obviously would not his real name, so he casually borrowed Ling Yun's. "Heh, please sit." The purple-clothed elder beckoned with a hand, then went on ahead to sit on the stone bench in the middle of the pavilion. Yun-Che nodded slightly and sat opposite of the elderly man. One of the young women left gracefully, and the other 2 broke off to either side of him with their heads slightly lowered and a light smile on their lips. Their posture was solemnly respectful, as if they were at Yun-Che's disposal. "May I ask what senior is called?" Yun-Che asked. "This old man is surnamed Z, and simply named G." The old man answered with a smile. "Z?" Yun-Che was somewhat taken aback. This was the first time he had ever heard of this family name, but he nodded immediately. "Senior Z, thank you so much for speaking out and helping me earlier." The matter from before did not require this old man to say anything. As for helping you, it even more so cannot be considered as help. This old man merely prevented a small inconvenience for Black Moon, and nothing more. ZG raised his gaze, looked Yun-Che straight in the eye, and said with a smile, "Young man, should this old man call you Yun-Che, or Prince Consort Yun, or the name Ling Yun, that you wished to be called?" Yun-Che's expression stiffened slightly. Then, he laughed out loud and answered without the slightest of fluster, as expected of the Black Moon Merchant Guild, "Your intelligence-gathering ability is indeed unrivaled under heaven." Junior Yun-Che trying to play tricks beneath Senior Z's all-seeing eye is truly laughable. I hope that Senior Z will not take offense. "Ha ha," ZG laughed indifferently. "Black Moon's intelligence-gathering ability isn't that exaggerated. It's merely that your identity just so happens to be easy to recognize, that's all. This old man has been in touch with members of the Divine Phoenix sect all year round, and is extremely familiar with the Phoenix Flame ability. Even though you did your best to suppress it, this old man still could detect a bit of Phoenix aura from your body. And the only person who possessed the Phoenix bloodline outside of Divine Phoenix sect is only Prince Consort Yun of Blue Wind Nation." The young woman who had left returned, carrying already brewed tea. The tea's fragrance permeated everywhere, making Yun-Che's state of mind relax as he smelled it. Even though he didn't really understand much about tea, he knew that the value of this tea should be extremely high. He raised the teacup, drank a small mouthful, and praised, "Good tea." After hearing Senior's words, it seems that this junior thinking about hiding his identity would be an impossibility. You have concealed it with ice profound energy, unless they meticulously probed you. I'm afraid that even a divine Phoenix sect elder would not sense your Phoenix flame ability. ZG smiled. You had lit up the violet crystal on my Black Moon's profound array, so it could even be said that your innate talent is universally shocking. Before, this old man had placed all his attention on you, otherwise, I would not detect your Phoenix flame ability. However, to this old man, it doesn't seem as though you are painstakingly hiding your own identity, or else you would not have paid any attention to that divine Phoenix sect junior, then also unrestrainedly revealed your innate talent on that crystal stage. As expected of the master of Black Moon Merchant Guild's 7th floor, your insight is perceptive. Yunche sincerely praised. On Black Moon's 7th floor, the people that this CG made contact with were all kinds of peak-level figures in the profound sky continent. His ability to perceive and appraise someone was absolutely not one that an ordinary person could reach. He said lightly, this junior had previously been hunted by others all year round, and is long weary of avoiding and hiding all over the place. After half a month, Junior will be up against the Divine Phoenix sect. Since that's the case, there isn't really a need for me to be trembling in fear and be overcautious within this half a month. Not being noticed by Divine Phoenix sect is of course the best scenario, but even if I were to be noticed, it wouldn't really matter anyway. If I was cautious about everything, wouldn't it mean that I was afraid of the Divine Phoenix sect? Yunche drained the tea in the cup in one gulp. When talking about the Divine Phoenix sect, there was not the least bit of fear in his expression. This kind of courage made CG secretly praise him in his heart. He nodded, revealing his approval. The reason why Divine Phoenix sect did not really care enough to actively seek you out 2 years ago when you revealed your Phoenix bloodline and existence, is because in Divine Phoenix sect's eyes, every profound practitioner from the 6 nations outside of Divine Phoenix Empire are ants unfit for them to look at. However, after talking with you for a bit, this old man suddenly feels as if Divine Phoenix sect may perhaps have to pay dearly due to them holding you in contempt, but that cannot be now. Even though you are not the least afraid, it does not mean that you are capable of opposing the Divine Phoenix sect's power. Your talent could be said to be extremely high, but it has not matured. You might be far stronger than what the Divine Phoenix sect expected by many times, but it would still not be the least bit threatening. Junior is well aware of this point. Yunche nodded, then proceeded to talk about the main reason why he had come here today. The reason why this junior had come to the Black Moon Merchant Guild today is because this junior wishes to buy 2 things, and 2 intelligence, but... Yunche's gaze swept the surroundings, because this place truly did not seem like a place that sold things. Understanding what Yunche was puzzling over, CG laughed. Don't hesitate to just open your mouth and tell this old man whatever you need. The 7th floor is different from the first 6 floors. There is no difference between the first 6 floors and the Black Moon Merchant Guild you know of, while this place rarely has customers. Esteemed customers that come here are all personally received by this old man. Whatever an esteemed customer wants, as long as they say the word, no matter if Black Moon has it or not, as long as our esteemed customer asks for it and can afford to pay the price, Black Moon will do its utmost to fully satisfy it. If you want the little things, someone would still accompany our esteemed customer to the 6th floor. So it's like that. Yunche no longer hesitated as he said directly, of the 2 things this junior needs, one is a heavenly Brahma jade, the purer the better. The other is a completely preserved Phoenix helianthus. ZG closed his eyes, then opened them a few breaths later. He reached out his hand to lightly stroke the purple jade ring on his finger, took out a jade box that was releasing cold air, and showed it to Yunche. This is the biggest, and also the purest piece of all the heavenly Brahma jade that Black Moon possesses. A young woman walked forward and gently placed the ice jade case before Yunche. Esteemed customer, please have a look. Yunche no longer hesitated, and directly opened the ice jade case. From within the cold pervading mist, Yunche saw a light piece of stone shimmering with silvery light, which contained veins that looked bloodshot. Yunche extended his left hand. After an instant of feeling about, he sensed its purity with the sky poison pearl's perception. Things from Black Moon headquarters would naturally not be fake. Yunche immediately closed the ice jade case, and said, Alright, may I ask Senior to state a price? Heavenly Brahma Jade is 600 purple profound coins per 50 grams. This Heavenly Brahma Jade weighs 650 grams, and needs 7,800 purple profound coins. ZG nonchalantly quoted a price. The hell, so expensive? The corner of Yunche's mouth twitched, but he had a huge sum of 10 million purple profound coins on him, so he certainly could afford it. Immediately after, he took out 7,800 purple profound coins from his purple gold card. Then, he put the Heavenly Brahma Jade inside the Sky Poison Pearl. As for the Phoenix Helianthus, the last 13 Phoenix Helianthus Black Moon possessed had just been all bought by Divine Phoenix Sect 6 hours ago. ZG said, if you urgently need them, outside of Black Moon, there is actually another place where you could buy it. Where? ZG said slowly, 150 kilometers south of here is a merchant guild called the Falling Flame Merchant Guild. Tomorrow, at 3 in the afternoon, they ought to be auctioning out precious materials, among them is precisely the Phoenix Helianthus. Yunche nodded. Junior has taken note of this. I thank Senior for telling me this. Do I have to pay for this information? Ho, no need. ZG laughed faintly, then reminded, however, even though the Falling Flame Merchant Guild is called a merchant guild, it is actually a black market. The things it sells are also unofficial public sales. Once you get there, you'll understand. But this old man believes that with your wisdom, you probably would not suffer a loss. Now, what are the 2 pieces of intelligence you wanted? This junior hopes that Black Moon will help me look for the whereabouts of 2 individuals. Yunche stated grimly, of the 2, one is named Chu Yuchan, formerly a disciple of Blue Wind Nation's Frozen Cloud Asgard, head of the Frozen Cloud 7 Fairies. The other is Xie Yuanba. Yunche described the 2 to ZG in as much detail as he could. ZG slightly closed his eyes, remembered everything, then said while nodding, this old man will personally dispatch people for intelligence on these 2 people. Only, Black Moon's relay network in Blue Wind Nation is thinly spread out, so it would be hard to guarantee swift news within the short term. Leave behind your sound transmission imprint. After possessing solid information, this old man will immediately contact you. Since you are an esteemed customer, there is no need for you to pay for the intelligence in advance. At the date of confirmation, we can settle the bill. Among the 2, even though this old man does not know the whereabouts of Xie Yuanba, this old man does know a few matters concerning him and can tell you a thing or 2. Stunned, Yunche immediately stood up. You know Yuanba. Not only do I know him, many people within Divine Phoenix City know of this name as well. ZG said slowly, back then, his name had actually resounded within half of Divine Phoenix City for a short period of time. He was a crazy madman. But shortly after, he suddenly disappeared without a trace. Not long after his disappearance, his father had also come rushing over to Divine Phoenix City, and actually stayed within this Black Moon headquarters. If this old man has not remembered wrong, Xie Yuanba's father, Xie Honi, should also be one of your father-in-laws, right? Episode 62 is end here. Next episode coming tomorrow. Thanks for watching.